Welcome back everybody to another MOTOBOB video. We're at the Excel Centre in London today for the London Motorcycle Show. So join us as we check out some of the bikes, including some new announcements over the past couple of months with some sweet looking bikes for 2025. Tim's here as well.
I am.
Anything you're looking forward to?
What am I looking forward to? Bimota, that was quite a nice one.
Yeah, that looks quite interesting. We'll check that out. Plenty of new stuff to see on the KTM stand. The new 390 Enduro R, the 390 Adventure R, the SMC version as well. This one's the 125. Then we've got the new 1390 Super Adventure. You can get that one with an automatic box in the Evo version. This is the new Super Duke GT. Look at the size of the TFT dash in the cockpit there, absolutely massive. And this one has been made by a dealer, and it's actually a 1390 Super Duke R, just in a rather tasty looking stealthy dark edition. Very nice indeed.
It's got teeny tiny indicators.
Probably the smallest indicators you'll ever see on a motorcycle there. Then we've also got, this is the 990 RCR sports bike, which is based upon the same platform as the 990 Duke, complete with a bit of carbon and some rather big aero winglets. Good looking bike or not?
Oh, no, it's got the mandibles again. It's a bit insect-like, but yeah.
Probably a key competitor, well definitely a key competitor for that KTM is the new R9 from Yamaha. And I'd say, in the flesh, it's quite a bit nicer looking than the KTM. Agree?
I mean, they're very, very similar, but yeah, it edges it. It's blue, look at it. And the lights are nicer, so. This
one's the new Bear 650, one of the biggest sellers this year, I'll bet. 650 Enfields always sell well, good on price. This is more of a Scrambler version. How's that feel?
Yeah, familiar. A little bit taller, I suppose, a bit more relaxed, but good in general. I think a little bit like the Super Meteor, where it feels a little bit more refined than the original Inceptors and stuff like that. It's just tweaked a tiny, tiny bit. You can notice tiny little things. Yeah, a bit more quality.
And it gets that big TFT dash that you get on the Himalayan 450 and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Nice little details, a little Bear.
Love the colour.
You like the colour? I prefer there's definitely a more vibrant option, the green and red. That'd be my pick. But yeah, it's cool. Ducati Stand just here. They yesterday announced the new X-Diavel V4, which looks really, really cool. But I assume there wasn't time to get one over here to London to display on the stand. So nothing particularly new of note here, although we do have some of the new Scramblers on the stand. So this is a limited edition Rizoma model with some fancy bits on it. This is the new Full Throttle, which is a little bit flat track inspired. It used to be loud and red, but now it's a bit more stealthy and black and gold. And then this one, I believe, is another dealer custom, which I really like actually, Marlboro inspired. And I really do like that paint job. I think it looks perfect on the little Scrambler. Which one would you go for though, mate? The Rizoma, the black, Full Throttle, or this custom?
Rizoma all the way. Yeah, when it comes to custom parts, it's got to be the way to go. So it makes sense they've made the best one.
Now, this is a bike I saw a few months ago at the NEC for Motorcycle Live. It's a Z900RS, but they've given it for 2025 this matte black and grey paint job, which I don't know, I posted it on Instagram and some people said it was maybe a bit boring compared to the other paint jobs they've done on it, but I really do like it. A bit of gold on the wheels, a bit of gold on the fork. Very nice indeed. Now we just thought we'd stop off at Bimota, which is part of Kawasaki, so it's on the edge of the Kawasaki stand. But like Tim said earlier, one of the bikes is really quite interesting. I mean, arguably they're all interesting. They always have some unusual design features like that adventure bike they've announced with the signature suspension system, this KB4, which is beautiful, and it's got the air ducts running all the way through the bike. But the one that we did want to stop off and look at is this KB998, which is their homologation special for going back into World Superbikes. As you can imagine, being a homologation special, it's very expensive. It's I think it's up near the limit of what they can charge at around 36 grand. But despite largely being based upon the Kawasaki ZX-10RR, it does have one unusual feature, which is that the aero winglets, so the aerodynamics, are, I guess, adaptive. So they respond to changes in speed, I guess, or acceleration, or braking, or cornering, in order to optimize the flow of air for any specific scenario. And you can see, actually, looking at the winglets on the front there, they sort of pivot, so they're electronically actuated. Is that interesting, Tim, or am I just a nerd?
I find it interesting.
Thanks, mate. Over at Suzuki, we've got the new Supermoto, and then the DRZ-4S, which is more of a trail bike. And this might be the ultimate green laner, actually, because it's got enough punch to get around on the road, but also, you know, a fairly off-roady spec that should make it decent off tarmac. Fancy you go on that one?
Yeah, I want one of them. That is the bike I want next.
Would you take that or the new KTM 390?
I'd probably go with this one, but because of maybe reliability, I just feel like this one's a bit bomb. Yeah, it's bomb-proof in it.
And if you get it serviced by Suzuki, what was it?
Oh, like 7 years, wasn't it?
Here we go, mate. Up to 7 years warranty. How does it work? Book in for your Suzuki qualifying service. Let our trained Suzuki technicians do the work. Get warranty cover to your next service for all Suzuki bikes up to 7 years old or 70,000 miles. Now, I filmed this one at the factory a couple months back, but what a beauty. It's the new Bobber TFC over on the Triumph stand. Clip-on bars, Öhlins fork, fully adjustable, Brembo style Emma brakes. It gets its own dedicated paint job on the tank, a bit of TFC badging in the cockpit, floating seat as per usual with the Bobber, and an Akropovich exhaust system, and an Öhlins shock as well. Very, 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 very nice. And actually on price, mate, what would you say? What would you pay for a special edition?
On this one, I don't know, I'm guessing 16 grand, is it close to that?
Oh yeah, I thought you were going to say more. Yeah, it's about that. 17,195, which is, I'd say, a bit less than what you'd probably expect to pay for other limited editions. I don't think it's that bad. Especially considering it's not just a paint job, mate, and a badge. You actually get some better spec.
It's got some big indicators, and that's not enough custom for me, I'm afraid, but we'll let it off.
Too big. More recently, though, they've announced an updated version of this, the Speed Triple 1200RS. And I've got to say, seeing it for the first time in the flesh, this is one nice looking bike, isn't it, Tim? It's a real beauty. Love that new paint job. Thoughts?
Yeah, it's the best looking one I've seen to date.
Yeah, I'd agree. It's a big improvement over the visuals on the last one, I'd say. But also, in terms of spec, there's more power, more tech. But I think the biggest improvement was that the previous gen was often criticized for having quite firm suspension, whereas this one gets a similar semi-active electronically adjustable system to what was available previously on the half-faired RR model. That should mean better suspension response in more scenarios, so hopefully a bit more comfort without compromising on performance. And actually, it's the latest gen Öhlins Smart EC3 system, which is about as good as it gets. Now, this might be another opportunity, Tim, for you to say whether I'm a nerd or this is interesting. But the way this new Smart EC3 system works is that you don't go in and change parameters like damping and stuff like that. You just change stuff like mid-corner support or braking support. So you're more so telling it what you want it to feel like in certain circumstances without having to have the technical knowledge of like how changing the damping will affect its feel at that part of the ride. Interesting? Nah, it's not. You can't see Tim's face. He says yes.
Oh yeah, fascinating.
The only compromise, as with all of these updates, when you get more stuff, you have to pay for it, and so it is quite steep now. I think this one is up around 18 grand. It's similar in price to what the RR model was, which has been discontinued because I don't think it was selling that well because of the more aggressive riding position with the clip-on style bars. This, with the flat bars, a lot more versatile, I guess, and probably more people's cup of tea. And so yeah, it's now a one bike lineup, but you do have to pay a bit more for that naked version. This is one of the bikes from the Triumph Factory Museum, I think. Tom Cruise is, apparently. You'd have thought he'd have the money to look after it a bit though.
Maintain the damn thing.
Got a few bullet holes in there. Now, stood by a bunch of lids is probably a good time at which to give a massive shout out to today's video sponsor, and that's Flying Eyes. Now, Flying Eyes make these phenomenal spectacles that are made from their own special material called resilimide that makes them all bendy, and they're very thin at the arms as well. So when you are wearing a lid, they just slide in really easily, very comfortable, and they also wrap around the contours of your head so they don't really create pressure spots. So if you've ever had those intense headaches you can get from wearing glasses on the bike, or sunglasses as well, they've got both, then these are a perfect way to eliminate that and give you a much more pleasant experience, I'd say, on long motorcycle rides. So look, a massive thanks to Flying Eyes for their support. There's a link down in the description where you can find out more, and also a discount code specifically for our viewers. So yeah, thanks to Flying Eyes, and let's have a look at some more bikes. Now this year, Honda are actually celebrating 50 years of one of their most famous models, and that's the Goldwing, and we've actually got one of the first generation here behind us. It looks kind of like a naked bike. It's kind of impressive to see how far it's come over the years, and also, you know, a reminder that it started out at 1,000 cc's, I believe, and it was a flat 4. Fast forward to 2025 though, and we've got 2 more cylinders, an extra 800 cc's, and I think it's fair to say quite a bit more plastic on the bike. It's a big old thing. Still one of my favorite bikes I've ever had the pleasure of borrowing over the years doing this job. I absolutely love riding a Goldwing every time I get one. It's got all the gadgets, all the comfort, love that big smooth engine as well. And this one gets this really quite, I'd say daring paint job, at least for Honda anyway, to mark the occasion of this 50th anniversary. So it's a gold finish with some brown panels that give it a bit of a station wagon look, but I think they had to do something, you know, a bit interesting for a 50th anniversary, and so it definitely, for me anyway, hits the mark. I should also add, it's now Euro 5 Plus compliant. The CarPlay and Android Auto is wireless instead of wired, and they've changed the headset pairing, mate, so it's easier to pair 2 headsets. You don't have to pair them separately.
Even you sound bored by that bit.
Elsewhere on the Honda stand, we've got the GB350S, which costs £3,949 for a little nice single cylinder. This was the best-selling bike in the modern classics category in January in the UK. So I think it will go on to be a big seller. And we've actually got one in the studio for review at the moment, so that video will be coming soon. But I have had a little spin on it, and I gotta say, first impressions are really quite good. It doesn't feel as underpowered as I maybe expected, but that could be because they've geared it quite short, I believe. And another good value bike here, the CB1000 Hornet SP, 9,999, I believe, and you get the Brembo brakes, Öhlins shock. And what do you think of that, mate, seeing it in the flesh? For the money, hard to beat.
Yeah, I love the matte black sort of night look to it. It's really cool, and you can't really beat a Honda CB1000. It's a pretty
50 horses.
Yeah, it's just a great all-round bike.
Also got one of those in the studio at the moment. It's a great time to be working at MOTOBOB, and I haven't had the chance to ride that one yet though, because the weather's been so bad through February that a 20 horsepower 350 felt like a more sensible decision first than the 150 horsepower 1000 cc inline 4. I've seen this bike already. This was at the Bike Shed show, remember?
Yeah.
Charlie Stockwell at Triumph London built this custom Scrambler 1200 XE with a bit of a sort of Baja rally inspiration. It's on the Bridgestone stand today, and these are actually the headlights off Tim.
Oh, a rocket. The rocket?
Well done, mate. You're as much of a nerd as I am. Now we're over at BSA, and I saw this one a few months back at Motorcycle Live, but I didn't have time to come and film it, so I made sure we've stopped off now. It's the B65 Scrambler, which is based upon the same platform as their revival, let's say, of the Gold Star. Now, I did enjoy that bike when I rode it, and I thought the big single cylinder was a good point of differentiation versus the parallel twins from Triumph and from Royal Enfield with the Interceptor, let's say. But in this more scramblery design and spec, I've got to say, I think it looks a lot more desirable, for me anyway, than the standard Gold Star, which is a nice looking bike, but a bit more traditional. This one gets the oversized front wheel, the chunky tires, you've got the braced handlebar with a bit of padding here. What else have we got? a bit of an upswept exhaust, some side panels, the paint job looks great, bar end mirrors, a little machined fuel cap on the go there as well. And so I think this one will sell very, very well if they do manage to get it out soon. Also, it's got what looks like more of a TFT display. Technologically, that means it's probably a bit of an upgrade as well versus the standard Gold Star. Although they could have been a bit neater. Come over here, Tim, and have a look at this. Maybe a bit neater with the USB ports. You do get a USB-A and USB-C, but maybe just one would have been better on the side of the dash. Or maybe it's an accessory, who knows, but it's not that clean, is it? Now, this stand is Krazy Horse. They're a dealer here in the UK that focus on some more interesting brands, like some alternative motorcycle brands like Norton, Indian, CCM and stuff like that. One of the things they've been doing for a while is converting Scouts into a more custom tracker build. And this one caught my eye because it's actually based upon the new 1250, and I haven't seen that many custom new Scouts since they introduced them last year. But yeah, the general idea is flat track wheels, so a little bit larger, the right tires, seat unit, nice and thin, fancy paint job, flat track wheel at the front, and a really loud exhaust. In fact, I've got a clip that I can insert now of one of their Hooligan builds being revved up, and it was crazy. You'll be pleased to see the size of the indicators.
Can I even say, oh, look at that. It's just a suggestion of an indicator, is that one?
But also, we rode the 1250 Scouts a couple of months back, was it?
Yeah, of the things we've ridden recently together, that was one of those ones where I was like, yeah, I could see myself on this one.
This one is, I believe, the CCM Maverick. It's a Scrambler style bike built on their Spitfire platform. Love the sort of build on the frame and the kind of effort that's gone into that. But I think this one is a slightly custom interpretation by Krazy Horse with a bit of a paint job. And also there's a matching head and helmet there, which does look quite cool together, but I'm not sure I've ever really been a fan of like bikes and matching helmets and jackets. Like the new Enfield shotgun, they did a collaboration with Icon. You can get a matching jacket. Sometimes when Ducati do special editions, you can get a matching jacket.
Is it a bit matchy-matchy?
The helmet's all right, maybe, but I draw the line at the helmet, maybe. Now, we're over at Harley-Davidson. As you can imagine, all manner of cruisers and tourers, some of which have been updated for 2025. But I think one of the most interesting new developments has to be this Pan America, which now comes in an ST model, which is a bit more road focused. So the standard bike, the more adventure-y, semi-off-road spec, gets a 19 at the front, spoked wheels. So yeah, definitely suited to a bit of on and off. Whereas this one is 17 inches front and rear, cast wheels, a bit more sporty, kind of like Harley's equivalent of a Multistrada V4 Pikes Peak. And I actually think it looks quite good as well with this slightly more sporty paint job. They've given it a smaller windscreen as well, so it does have more of that aggressive appearance. And so yeah, this is one that I'm actually quite looking forward to trying if we can get hold of a press bike. It should be a good handling bike, and it's a fairly punchy engine as well, so yeah, should be a lot of fun. Over at BMW, and we're here to look at these new 900s, Tim, which we rode the previous gen a year or two back, maybe a bit more than that, but we're both a little bit underwhelmed, weren't we?
Yeah, very little character is how I would phrase it.
Yeah, and perhaps not as exciting as the spec sheet suggested with over 100 horsepower. But I'm hoping this new 2025 version will be a little bit better. They've given it lighter wheels, so it should be a bit more agile, more adjustability on the fork, a flatter handlebar as well for a slightly more aggressive riding position. And also, this doesn't have it, but there's the option of an Akropovich silencer in the accessories catalog as well. They've done the same updates to the XR version as well. This is the F900 XR sort of tall sports tourer thing. This one they've tweaked the aero a little bit as well to make it more comfortable on the motorway. But I think the one change it really needed, like I say, on paper the power's good, but it maybe just didn't feel as exciting as it should do. So I'm really looking forward to testing out the new dynamic riding mode, which they've made even more dynamic. So hopefully that gives it enough snap to get the old adrenaline pumping. This though, well, for me is something really rather special. It's the new R12S built upon the same platform, of course, as their R12 Retro. Another bike that we've tried out recently, really enjoyed it. Quick, good handling, good tech, good looking. But I think this one, which is of course meant to celebrate classic boxer powered sports bikes with this orange paint job, you know, it just has a little more X factor to the looks that perhaps almost justify the price tag. You see, it's over £18,000, which is a heck of a lot of money, but when you see it in the flesh, it really is quite something. And also part of it is that you get all of the options 719 stuff thrown in, like the bar end mirrors, the cylinder head covers, these reservoir caps, the levers, foot pegs, stuff like that. So everywhere you look on this bike, it just looks really, really well finished. And for me, yeah, possibly bike of the show. What was your bike of the show, Tim?
Still the Bimota for me. Very exciting.
Yeah, it looks good, doesn't it? What's with the gear?
Just dress to impress.
Tim's risking his life walking backwards to get this final shot, so massive thanks to Tim for helping out today. Do let us know your favourite bikes down in the comments below, and also I'll put our playlist on the screen now from Motorcycle Live, the other show in the UK, where we covered all of the major manufacturers' stands. So if you want to see any of the new 2025 bikes in more detail, then definitely check out that, or check that out. Hit subscribe if you want to see more of the latest motorcycle news and reviews right here on MOTOBOB. A massive thanks for watching this one, and we'll see you in the next video.